Halt! The episode which you are streaming has orders from the Dalek Supreme Council. You are ordered to subscribe and exterminate the like button. Failure to do so will result in your death. Begin transmission.
Welcome, audience members. You are now entering the Parliament of the Daleks, a Doctor Who podcast focusing on the toys, action figures, and merchandise from the past, present, and future of our favorite sci-fi franchise. I'm your Dalek fanatic host, Wade, joined by figure expert Alex, Captain Kitbasher Jack, and in this episode, we will be celebrating the 17th anniversary of the episode that started it all for New Who, Rose. We'll be sharing our top 5 characters we'd like to see as figures in this episode, Life in Plastic, It's Fantastic. We thought this would be a great way to celebrate each episode's 17th anniversary for Season 1 of New Who, especially since each one lands on a Saturday this year, so that's really cool. And each Saturday we'll be releasing an episode to coincide with the episode's air date and anniversary date. So, we'll do our top 5 characters from Rose that we think would be awesome toys in the Doctor Who 5.5-inch range. For this series, we will be keeping in mind the budget that the B&M Doctor Who range has, and of course, this is not rumors or new figures that are coming. This is just fun speculation on our part on how they could make these figures. And we will have, for the number 1 slot, be an entirely new sculpted figure, just for the heck of it and for fun. Starting with the number 5 slot, Jackie Tyler. Now, Jack, how would you construct this figure?
Primarily, I would use plastic.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm joking. Right.
You'd never guess. No, I'll make it out of wood instead.
Yeah, this is the wooden Doctor Who range.
I think Jackie's one of the easiest ones to make. I'm surprised we've never had her done already. So she was literally just a primeval figure, which it would be Claudia Brown, which is, if you don't know them by name, is the one that has been used for most recently Yaz, isn't it? Yasmin Khan.
For Yaz's and Romana's, right?
Yeah. So if you don't know who Claudia is, just picture the Yaz body, and instead of a shirt PVC piece that plugs into the torso, they would just sculpt a new t-shirt section and a head. And that's all you need for Jackie.
That'd be a pretty easy figure. Now, Alex, what do you think the reason was why they never made a Jackie figure back in the day? I mean, we all know the answer, right? But why do you think it just never happened?
I don't know. It's strange. Because Doctor Who is that kind of franchise where you can't really say it's because women figures don't sell or anything like that, because all companion figures are just basic women in outfits that are really normal looking. So I think it's just because maybe there wasn't enough interest from the kids for a character like Jackie. As much as us fans really like her and would love a figure of her, maybe there just wasn't enough appeal for the kids market for one.
I mean, would you want a figure of someone's mum?
Yes.
Well, for me as a kid, I was a huge fan of the show, so I probably would have, but I'd be quite a rare exception, I suppose.
I think probably the only way they could have reasonably shifted, a decent amount of Jackie figures is if she came packed in with a more popular character or like a multi-pack. Maybe put her in with a Slovene or something. But I don't think she would have sold as a single card release.
Yeah.
I could maybe see that happening. Now, do you think with the collector's landscape, do you think a Jackie Tyler figure would sell better now than perhaps back in 2006 or so?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I really think so too.
I think it'd be a really neat project to make a Jackie Tyler custom, especially with using a resin printer and having someone 3D sculpt the face for it. And I'd be curious to see if you guys make one of these days.
Gallifrey Customs does. I don't know if they've properly gone on sale yet, but he has made a Jackie Tyler head.
All right, moving on to the number 4 slot. We have Auton and Auton Child. Now, Alex, what Auton variant are we specifically looking for?
So with this, we are looking at...
Go on, Alex. What Auton are we looking for?
Okay, right. So,
Remember, this was your idea. You wanted this Auton.
Just me as Jack. I mean, I came with the
Okay.
swappable aspect, but Jack came with the titties.
Okay, just kidding. This is the Auton Jack wanted. But we all agree it'd be really fun as a
Excuse
figure.
me, is there any proof of that, or is that hearsay? That's libel.
I thought Alex originally pitched this idea. I was thinking, oh, maybe Auton in a sports coat or Auton in a suit.
No,
and-
I pitched the swappable torso aspect.
No, I can confirm it was Alex. We're just going to gaslight him into.
Oh, Jack. Come on, don't be ashamed that you came up with the idea.
Okay, Alex, which Auton do we want?
Means it was your idea.
So we're going to have a basic Auton figure, but with this version, we're sort of going for like I'm not going to say shirtless version, but like one where the sort of shirt is undone. So sort of bare torso is shown underneath, and we've got like a swappable torso aspect to this, where we're going to have sort of like a more, ripped / jacked type torso, and it's more sort of unfit looking, some man boobs on there. Don't know why we chose that, but it's weirdly we sort of just know it from the episode. You think of the Autons.
It's one of the most standout Auton.
Yeah, it's recognizable.
And it was one of the first ones we saw in the show.
I think it was the first one. Isn't it the one that tries to smack Rose around the face?
Yeah, the ripped one is. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, no, that was Will Smith.
So for this Auton, are you thinking of the way they did the Time of the Doctor set, right? Where Matt Smith had the swappable vest. If you were just to take it out and plug in a new one, you'll have the muscular Auton body and then the dad bod Auton.
To be more specific, I'd probably say more like the Bracewell figure. So you don't have like the coat pegs plugging in or anything. It just like is just the torso bit that comes on and off, and it's like because with Bracewell, like the lab coat like sort of comes out very far on the sides, so it's not as restricted.
That's a good idea.
That honestly make for a really fun figure.
So anyway, the second figure is an Auton child, because in the final attack in the episode, there are a few child dummies that show up that come out to attack. So yeah, we thought it'd be cool to have one of those.
And then for the kid Auton, we're thinking you could possibly reuse the arms from the empty child figure and then just make a really simple 6 POA sculpt figure for the Auton, because it'll be just like a pack-in, just like the original sets had back in the day, like Captain Jack and the Empty Child or the Space Pig and Slitheen sort of thing. But we think that would be really fun to have as figure variants, especially these days. And it gives you a reason to buy more than one. So, Jack, what do we have for the number 3 spot?
We have Mickey Smith. Specifically, really, this isn't a Mickey figure. This is an Auton Mickey figure, because that's what everyone would want it for. So he's going to come with possibly the best accessory you can imagine, which I'll save for the last. But he's going to come with his alternate Auton head, so say that 5 times drunk, and his chopping block hands that he used. When was that? In the restaurant scene when he was chasing. Yeah. So his chopping block hands and his alternate Auton head, and the best accessory possibly ever made, a wheelie bin from when it ate him outside Clive's house.
That would be really nice.
Oh,
And it's compulsory that the wheelie bin must also fit the figure inside.
well, no, what I was actually thinking was the wheelie bin could double as accessory storage for the alternate heads and hands.
Oh, that'd be good, yeah.
Oh, it could, yeah.
Because then you can have this be a regular Mickey figure too, but we'd all want it for the Auton variant with weird plastic head, like the fake hair, and then the chopping block hands.
I think everyone would want a pizza that.
Oh wow. Pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah, that would make for a really fun figure variant, and I would totally want this. I think when we were coming up with ideas for this, Jack, we said it at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was like rewatching Rose, and that was right at the scene I was on, and I'm like, this would make for a great figure. And I think we were excited the most for this one.
You know what? I would almost say as well, to differentiate it, because wasn't there a 9th Doctor that came with a Mickey head as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Auton arm.
I would say to differentiate it from that, they could even include, the dip in his head from when the 9th Doctor shoots him with a cork.
On the house.
See, I would love to have that as a head. That would be hilarious.
That'd be brilliant.
Just the weird wow, like weird face he made.
Funko Pop eyes.
Now, Alex, how would you construct this figure?
Well, given that there's quite a few new sculpts already here, if we wanted like a new head and the chopping block hands and the wheelie bin, because that's where most of the money would go. So I think costume-wise, you want to save a bit of money. And I was thinking, really, there's nothing that perfectly matches it, but if you want a decent approximation, you'd probably have to go with the Nick Cutter Primeval figure, which, for those who don't know, was reused for Ryan Sinclair. So basically, imagine that body, but we repaint the t-shirt piece that you can see white, and the jacket sort of like a, what kind of color do you describe it, guys? Like sort of like a dark gray, slightly greenish color-ish.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, huh? That'd be pretty smart for the figure, and I would love to see someone make that one day. So, for our number 2 slot, what do we have, Alex?
For our number 2 slot, we have Rose in her pink hoodie that we have had before, but she is in that weird disco dancing style pose. So for this one, we would construct it using the Martha Jones body and have a new hair sculpt / head sculpt, depending how we'll talk about that.
That would be kind of interesting. Now, Jack, have you made Rose? Oh no, you've made plenty of Martha customs. How would you do the wrap around it for the sweatshirt?
Well, the arms are basically like the most generic arms you can get, like because they're the same ones that they used on the 13th Doctor figure, and they look perfect for that, even though they're not accurate, quote unquote. So literally, I would just do the trousers are basically the same anyway. They might be a little bit too tight around the thighs, but I don't think anyone's gonna notice. And then it would literally just be a PVC wrap of the hoodie and a little piece of her like t-shirt that she had on underneath it. And then I would use the Series 2 Rose head, because then I think they can get around licensing issues with her head, and add a longer hairpiece.
In other words, if Billy Piper says no, we'll just use her anyway, which is an old head sculpt.
That's what happened in 2014.
Yeah, so I think, and where the hair is a separate piece, they can get away with making a new, like, longer Series 1 hairstyle piece for it, and then you got a Series 1, Episode 1 Rose.
That'd be pretty cool, actually. And especially using a basic hoodie shirt like that, hoodie and shirt combo like that, there's a ton of variants that you could get out of that alone.
Well,
So-
especially the next episode, she's basically wearing that exact costume anyway, just a different color.
So it'd work out really well. So if character Alduar, if you're listening, we're giving you ideas. Hint, hint.
Copyright Donna Noble.
So that's our first 4 figures that we have come up with. The last one in the number 1 spot with an entirely new sculpt. And our number 1 slot is the wedding dress Auton. We think this would be a really killer figure and is honestly kind of iconic for this episode, and it made for a really great scene, and it would pair well with the Jackie figure. And the best of all, you can buy 3 of these if you want it to be screen accurate or anything like that, because there was 3 of them. So buying multiples is a plus. And the best part too is you should be able to reuse that mold for another special certain wedding dress figure down the road. But honestly, I would love to see this thing as a figure. It would be really cool, and it'd be a real standout in the collection, I think. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I completely agree. It'd be really interesting, and yeah, it's one of the most iconic Auton variants. And yeah, if you're thinking from like a financial perspective in terms of parts reuse, you know, you can use it for Donna in a wedding dress, which is another figure that everyone wants. And if you want to go even a little bit more obscure, you could even do Amy Pond in her wedding dress from The Big Bang. So yeah, it's really, character could make a new wedding dress body and get a couple of uses out of it. So yeah, I think a wedding dress Auton is one that, you know, would be fantastic.
Is it me, or do Doctor Who fans just have a weird affinity for wedding dress figures? Because there's a lot you could get out of it for such a weirdly specific thing, but it'd work well.
And I think it's actually more realistic, like, in happening than you would imagine. Because remember, for basically close to, 10 years, people were completely writing off the idea of ever getting a fur coat second Doctor. And then that happened.
Well, look at, say, like the 10th Doctor in Tuxedo. That happened like 10 years after the episode it came from, like, came out.
Exactly. But we know the mold, at least the mold has to exist for a wedding dress because of Donna. So Something has to exist. You know, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Donna Noble wedding dress prototype is pretty legendary. Not very many people have it. Like, who knows how many of those are floating around in this earth, but it would make for a really cool figure, and I would love to have one, especially as an official figure. That'll do it for our top 5 figures, and you guys listening to this episode, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below which one you would like to see as a figure. All right, Jack, let's move on to our favorite part of this episode, the playsets. Me and Jack are both huge into collecting playsets and, well, playing with playsets. But we thought it would be really neat to come up with some concept art and ideas just for fun, just to create our own playsets for each episode or scenario for these figures and toys. And for this first idea that we came up with, we thought it would be really cool to recreate the scene with the nesting consciousness. And my idea behind this was using like that red fake goo stuff. That could be your nesting, and you can have it in like this tub at the bottom, and then like just build that whole set that they created where it was like the underground London, I don't even know what you'd call that area, sewer kind of thing, where you could have a staircase on the left and then like a spot to hide your money bank TARDIS or something like that, and then have the Ninth Doctor looming over it. What would you put in this playset, Jack?
Well, I think you want it, if you're designing it for like 10-year-olds. So you want like as many action features as possible. So I would do like, as you said, I would have a section, which I also love when like companies add Easter eggs into their stuff. So what I would do is I would have a section for the money box TARDIS, because for the longest time we were told that's the only TARDIS we're ever going to get. So I would have a section for that to slot into, where once that slots in, you get like a exclusive sound effect, where it could be like, you know, he's addressing the nesting consciousness, or Rose saying, didn't she do like gymnastics in PE or something? Like the nesting consciousness's screech that it makes. I would have like a rope section that you could swing Rose on, and then I would have a little anti-plastic accessory that you could drop into like the goo and stuff like that. I think you could have even up top, so the roof of the set could be double-sided, so the underside looks like the top of the sewers, and then the on top of it, it looks like the sidewalk with a card backdrop of the London Eye.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, and I was thinking maybe you could have like a light underneath the playset where it's just glowing bright orange, and then when you drop in the anti-plastic accessory, you can then like turn blue as if it was dying.
I would
and then
love that.
make a horrid screech noise or something like that. But we think that would be really cool. So that's our first playset concept. What's our next one that we came up with, Alex?
So for the second one, we have Clive and his shed, which would include an exclusive Clive figure and would also have little Easter eggs within the shed. So you'd have like, you know, the little Ninth Doctor photo prints, and you could even do some of the other Doctors that were from the future that you saw in the novelization book. And you could also have, like, the character could just have a blast and like reuse old figure accessories, have some sonic screwdrivers in there, because let's face it, we all want them, because the B&M sets have been lacking those lately. Various things like, I don't know, like a Cyberman gun or something, like just random little things dotted about. Make it like, you know, a weird, you know, shed for nerds and that. You know, Clive is hoarding all this stuff about the Doctor, so you just have it's cluttered with references and stuff.
This could work more as like a novelty quote unquote joke playset, but more of a way of releasing basically an accessory pack, just, you know, like a really fancy one.
Very fancy, because it comes with a whole shed and a whole new figure with it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, imagine that could be the reason why it costs a little bit extra, because really this is a double-sided thing. It's a playset, and it was also a way of getting all of these accessories back out.
And for you people listening, this is no different than the Curator and the Gallifrey Falls No More painting. Like, it's the same thing. You guys bought it then, you guys will buy this now.
Exactly. Slap a Doctor Who logo on it and you'll bloody sell anything.
Basically, Clive and Shed is the highlight of this entire episode. Character, we are demanding for a Clive action figure with an entirely new sculpt to come with every single sonic screwdriver accessory, just so we could buy the sonic screwdrivers.
Yeah.
And then get Clive and his shed out of it. I mean, what more is there to say? That's the most legendary thing you could ever own as a Doctor Who toy collector.
Who wouldn't want that?
You'd be silly not to want this.
You could also include Clive's kid as a figure.
And I'm telling you now, if he doesn't come with his bike, I will be furious.
Just have a bike mold or something like that. Like,
Well, they could reuse it for Ryan. Sinclair, don't you dare.
Yeah.
You're doing it, mate.
So basically, character, the Clive and Shed should be your next online exclusive. You can charge 30 or 40 pounds, and between the three of us, we'll back about 3,000 to 4,000 of these just so it can get made. So you're welcome. Make this thing happen. All right, Jack, what would you say is your favorite thing that we covered in this episode? All-time favorite.
I would say the shed, but I have to say I really want a Mickey Smith and Wheelie Bin figure now.
But you can trust me, sweetheart, babe. Babe, sugar.
I think it's a genius idea.
It'd make for real fun, huh? And especially if you gave him a karate chop action, pull a lever on the back, and then quack, quack.
Brilliant.
Okay, and then Alex, if you were to pick one thing that is your all-time favorite from what we covered today, what would you say it is?
Gotta be Clive's shed. Just it's perfect. You know, we all wanted a figure of Clive. Come on, it's Clive. He's a fan favorite now. He just is.
He literally is.
You know, also, you know, love to see the Rose figure as well, because the disco dancing one annoys me. It's just not good for figure photography. You can't pose it properly. Like, I need a proper definitive Series 1 Rose figure.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Make one then. You're a customizer. Make one then. That's honestly the worst comment I ever get. You know, when you talk to someone like that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. I could make one, but, you know, just haven't. Because I hope the character will make one.
I think my all-time favorite is, I'd have to side with Jack. I want a Mickey Smith Auton figure with the wheelie bin. That would be perhaps the peak of Doctor Who toys and just utter ridiculousness as a figure, but it'd be so much fun.
But it's also, as ridiculous as it is, it's absolutely something Doctor Who would do.
I know, it fits in the episode, that's the thing, and it works.
Yeah, the thing is, I think, weirdly, back in the day when these figures were coming, they would have made it, I think, really.
Oh, yeah,
They
for
just-
sure.
I think they should
In
have.
whatever reason, it's so in the spirit of what options were doing at the time.
And also, I would like to say, if these, obviously this is just, you know, there is literally no validity to what we're saying, it's just what we'd want. But if it were to ever happen...
No, this is actually all leaks and rumours. We know
It
everything inside.
Yeah, guys,
Yeah.
this is the new CO Online exclusive in the next B&M wave.
But I would love if these figures came out on the original retro cards.
I agree. They would. I wish Al Duar would bring those back to celebrate the anniversary or whatever, maybe for 20 years, because it would be really cool, especially seeing that Mickey Smith or the Autons or a wedding dress Auton on that card, especially with the red backing and then the little clip art on the side. It would just totally make my entire year and decade if something like that could ever happen.
Thing is, the BBC would just be like, no, because that conflicts with our current branding. You know, that kind of stuff.
Who cares about that? So I think that'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And last but not least, I'd like to thank you, the audience members, for listening to our podcast. If you enjoyed it, be sure to share it with your friends, and also be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you have any questions or ideas about our show, be sure to email us at podcastofthedaleks.63@gmail.com. Once again, that's podcastofthedaleks.63@gmail.com.
Oh yeah, sorry. My thing disconnected then for a few seconds, so I missed my cue. But okay, yeah.
No, you were too busy looking at a photo of Clive in his shed.
Yeah, I'm just photoshopping the prototype now, actually. Okay, so for 2022, we've got huge plans such as Patreon with content like custom figure tutorials, kit bashing guides, and painting tutorials.
Be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well as no, we won't be. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well, as we will be uploading high quality reviews and even more toy content.
The goal of this podcast series is to cover the history of all Doctor Who figures and toys, and come up with some like this episode today. So be sure to stay tuned for more. I'm your host, Wade, and this is the Parliament of the Daleks. Oh man, I know who's going to be our number one pick for the Love and Monsters episode.
Oh baby,
Oh,
Elton.
I mean,
What?
there's so many figures from Love and Monsters we can just put
Wait,
in.
Elton is basically a Nick Cutter figure, right?
Literally,
Even the head sculpt could be reused.
he could as well.
I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to make a custom Elton figure, and it's just going to be a repaint of a spare Nick Cutter I've got.
I'm gonna block you if you ever make anything from Love and Monsters.